I'm here with Richard Sherman, the man who, along with his brother Robert, wrote what I think is fair to say the greatest Disney score of all time, Mary Poppins. And I'm not just saying that because he's sitting here, I'm saying it because it's true. And we thought Richard Sherman would be the ideal person to talk with us about the music in the Silly Symphonies and its importance to those films and to really all of Walt's films. So thanks for coming.
Well, I'm very proud and happy to be here. Leonard, thank you for inviting me. This is great.
We were talking before we started rolling that you remember a lot of these cartoons from the first time around.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. You know, upon reviewing them now that I've been looking at them again, it's like this warm, fuzzy feeling comes over me about being 7 years old and seeing for the first time some of these marvelous, marvelous special classics. They're just great. Actually, they stick in my mind.
Well, as I don't have to tell you, the Silly Symphonies began with the skeleton dance.
Right.
And so their concept right from the start was building them around music.
Yes.
Having worked with Walt, having known Walt, what did music mean to him? How did he deal with or interpret music?
Well, he actually, I believe he he from the very moment that he heard sound on film, when he saw The Jazz Singer back in 1928, he knew that his animated films would come to life with the use of music. And of course, Steamboat Willie, his first animated film, was absolutely incredible. It rocked the world. And then he knew, I have something magic here when I use music. And of course, what with the advent of doing pure music against animation in skeleton dance, a whole new era opened up, a whole new world opened up. And his geniuses that worked for him, you know, he was the head genius, but all these incredible people married visual to sound, to music, to rhythm, and it became the classics, the Silly Symphonies. It's wonderful.
Well, there's a great irony, isn't there, in the fact that a man who gave us so much great music through his films, through his theme parks, through his television shows, really was not a musical person, essentially.
He didn't read music, he didn't play an instrument, but he was a musical instrument within himself. I mean, he really expressed himself musically, totally. He knew what he wanted, and he knew he had a great staff of people that could give it to him. He'd steer them in the right direction, and they would do their thing. So that he was a total musician without being a musician, if you follow me.
Well, how did he express himself when you were discussing music with him?
Well, he had a way of instinctively knowing what would be right. Like we would talk about a scene, for example, and then we'd go away, and Bob and I would sit there and scurry around and write our thing and bring it in, and he'd listen to it. And he never was given to great compliments, but he would say, that'll work, you know, that was his favorite line. And then that was good. But if he didn't like something, he'd be very careful about how he said it. He would say something like, that's not for my picture. My picture needs, and then he would go into the basic elements that he wanted. He used to show with his fingers, with his hands, he would show a feel. And he'd say, I need more of a lilting feeling here, and I want it to sock me. You know, whatever he would do, it was always with gestures, and you knew it was bubbling out of him.
So he could give you the emotion.
Yes.
He might not give you a musical term, but he could give you the emotion that you had to interpret musically.
Absolutely. That's the way he led his people in all departments. I mean, he was the leader. I mean, he'd show you what he wanted, and it was very clear then. You say, oh, I see, and you'd go away and come back with the element that he was looking for. And many times you'd be right, you know, many times. And many times you thought you did the absolute perfect thing, and he'd say, I don't know. And he would maybe make a suggestion about how it could be improved. But music was part of his life. I mean, I think it just flowed in his veins. He just didn't express it as a musician. He expressed it as a producer. But he gave you the impact. He gave you the impetus for what to do.
It's always been said he had the feel. He was his audience, it's often been said. He had the same reactions that a Disney audience would have, and that's why he was so good at what he did. When Three Little Pigs came along, though, it had a song that absolutely took off, much beyond the film itself. It really swept the country, didn't it?
Well, aside from the fact that the actual film was a delight, there was a double meaning. The Big Bad Wolf was hunger, it was the depression. And so people would laugh at the depression. It gave them a chance to get away from themselves. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. You know, Frank Churchill wrote the music. It was a fabulous, who's afraid of the big bad wolf? The big bad wolf, the big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Ha, 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 ha. I mean, it made everybody feel good.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Big bad wolf, big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? He's a great big sissy.
How could you not smile when you heard that? And so, yes, it was the marriage of the music and the images and the overall impact. You know, more than what it said, what it implied, that was so big.
Well, there's another quality to that song that I think every great Disney song has, whether it's from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs or Mary Poppins or anything in between. It's a very singable song. It's not, you know, you don't have to hear it twice to get it. You get it right away.
Yes.
Do you agree with me? Maybe you don't.
No. I think Walt was a great champion of the kind of songs that my father taught me how to write. He'd say they have to have 3 S's: simple, singable, sincere. He says, boys, if you have them simple, singable, and sincere, he says, but be original. that was the secret. And actually, without even speaking about it to Walt, that's what he wanted. We knew that. So that we'd always try to write a singable melodic line and yet make it very original, you know, and singable and sincere. And simple, yeah.
One of my favorites is Grasshopper and the Ants, because I love that little song that the grasshopper plays with his fiddle and sings.
Oh, you can't forget it once you hear it in your head. Oh, the world owes me a living. La da 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 da.
Oh, the world owes us a living. You should soil your Sunday pants like those other foolish ants. Come on, let's play and sing and dance.
I love that. Yeah, it makes you feel good. You know, you can sing it in the shower. You can sing it in the bathtub.
But most importantly, it really ties that film together. It makes that short work. And that's what I find so marvelous about all those pieces in the Silly Symphonies.
Long before Fantasia, he was giving you classical music with cows singing it and chickens plucking it, clucking it. Yeah. It was just remarkable. I seeing them again, I tell you, it was great. And seeing Wynken, Blynken, and Nod. You know, I'd forgotten. Wynken and Blynken and Nod, you think they're 3 people, but they're actually the little boy. His eye is Wynken, and his left eye is Blynken, and his head is Nod. And the little boat they fly, the shoe they fly away in, is actually the crib. It's the most beautiful, beautiful thought.
Well, and that's like that whole film is like a tone poem almost.
It is a tone poem.
Visually and musically.
Magnificent.
But again, I can't imagine any of these films, even the ones that really have a story idea, not based just on music itself, but I can't imagine any of them without the music. The music's always an integral part, don't you think?
They're melodic driven, they're rhythm driven, definitely. And the use of it, you know, he had a stable of incredible musicians. That were working at the time. I mean, people like Carl Stalling, and later on there was Frank Churchill worked on so many of them, and Paul Smith, and Oliver Wallace. These are all great musicians who are just the champions of this stuff, and they just turned out one gorgeous score after another. It's amazing how they did it.
And they were steeped, of course, over the years in the Disney tradition. They got to know him, I guess, as well as you did in later years, and knowing
sure.
what he wanted and what he was looking for.
Well, I think Walt would always kind of steer the ship. He'd come in and say, what can we do with the Rachmaninoff so-and-so? You know, I like that. And they say, oh, well, we can use that in the so-and-so. He wouldn't play it, but he would come up with it. Yeah, he was amazing.
One of the most musical of the Silly Symphonies in every way is Musicland.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think anybody who loves music has got to love that cartoon.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's the wedding of not only the visual, the instruments, which became melodic phrases and everything, but jazz music as opposed to classic music, and how they wedded together. And it's an inspiration to anyone to watch it, because they realize that they all sort of complement each other. And in the end, of course, the saxophone falls in love with the violin. It's a beautiful thing, yes.
But jazz was looked down upon. I mean, it was a lot of people held up their noses to jazz.
Sure.
So I guess that you could say that cartoon was almost based on a real attitude that existed.
Oh, definitely. I think, well, the cartoons did reflect the time in many, many ways. And yet, in another way, they also brought you out of that time into a wonderful, special world, into a world of imagination. Walt always complimented people on the fact that their imaginations were vast, and he would just give them the vehicle with which to soar.
And they still have a charm, and they still have great life to them and great imagination.
And great memories. I mean, that's another thing, you know. I lived in a time when I was a little boy, and I saw these things, and they were so inspirational. I didn't realize I'd ever work for somebody like Walt Disney. I'd ever even be a songwriter. I didn't know. I just was a little boy enjoying them. But they stay with me. They stayed with me all these years, and I've never forgotten them.
Well, let's send people out with a reprise of Big Bad Wolf, all right?
Oh, right.
Thanks for coming today, Richard.
Well, I'm happy to be here. You with me? Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? The big bad wolf, the big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Ha ha la la ha.
Thank you.